Hi, it's Lydia, and I am here to share a graded STEM learning environment, the Robohawks Bootcamp. So I am currently in Google Classroom, which is the platform that I chose to house my environment in. I did add myself from another Google account as a student, so you're currently seeing the student view. I did create this with a different account from a teacher view. I'm doing it in the student just to try to make things a little more clear because things can get a little muddy in teacher view. So this is what students will see when they open up and have added the class code into the Robohawks Bootcamp. And when they bring it up, I have made it so that there is only one message here on the home screen. Pause to read, and it will take them to this video. It's very important to me, I should say, that I have embedded all of these YouTube videos because that is how our students need to access YouTube now through New York State due to privacy laws and a lot of Google products not complying with EdLaw 2D, YouTube unfortunately being one of them, so there are some workarounds for that, like us embedding things in Google Classroom. All of these videos that you're going to see are screen recordings that I did myself because I think that these videos are super helpful for students. They can go back and it's my voice, as annoying as it may seem to them, but it is their teacher teaching them how to do something. So this first video is a quick walkthrough of the classroom, which is basically what you are getting today. So you can see they get a tour of where everything is, which you're about to get as well, which is why I'm not having you sit through this video. So then they're able to click out of that, and my camera bubble's in the way. Once they have done that, they are asked to head over here to the classwork stream, which is where I have housed everything because I think that it is much clearer than having things get messy over here on the stream. And as told, look here under start here. They're going to come over here to this checklist. They're going to read the instructions and see that they need to open this Google form and that they are not able or should not turn this in until they are done with the whole boot camp. What does this look like? This is a step-by-step for them. This does automatically save. They're going to put their name, the class that they are completing boot camp for. So I teach a middle school robotics, high school robotics, and elementary. We also have some club and after school stuff. So they would put in like, why are you doing this? What? Because there is a chance that students will do this more than once in their career with me, and because I do plan to add more levels of this as time goes on. So if they're doing more advanced projects in boot camp than just the initial get to stuff. So the first task that they have is add yourself to the class Quizlet. So that is the second thing here under start here. They're going to open up Quizlet and it's going to ask them to log in. And it says your teacher has invited you to join. It's going to be, yep, it's going to put me in already because I already added myself. But they're going to be brought to this Quizlet that I made that has 22 flashcards. And they are going to learn using the Learning tab as prescribed by there. So I can check off, I have added myself to Quizlet, and now using flashcard mode in Quizlet, learn the vocabulary terms, the VEX code, so that you can start to learn some of the things you will see while you're using VEX code VR. Quizlet is something that is approved to use for our district, and we are allowed to log in with Google with it. They can learn, I would prefer that they did it this way. Oh, I'm getting a pop-up. They can do some of the other games in here, but I think flashcard mode is the best. So playground, and it flips over, so this is a virtual space for your robot, etc., etc., etc. And on the teacher side of things in Quizlet, I am able to see how much time they've spent, what words they have learned, what words they're not getting, all of these things like that. So it's giving me more of a progress tracking than just having them do this on paper or not doing it at all. I can see as well if they are just kind of blowing through it or if they are actually taking the time to learn the words. And this is not the only time that they're going to use this Quizlet during this module. They can come back to it. If they've already done the boot camp, I'm not as worried about them doing the vocabulary Quizlet. I will hopefully add more to the Quizlet as the future goes on. Once they have done that, their checklist is going to tell them that they need to watch the VEX Code VR introduction video, and this can be found under video guides in the classwork stream. So here in classwork, if I come to VEX video guides, here is the VEX introduction video basics. It is 13 minutes long, which sounds rough, but they can watch this as frequently as they need or go back to it over time. And this covers, VEX has 7 platforms, and this covers kind of like the meat and potatoes setup of it. So this is a really handy video for them to use across all age levels. Again, I will not make you sit through this 13-minute video of me. After that, their checklist is going to tell them that they need to head over to the complete the intro guide activity. So they're going to find the intro activity in introductions. When they open this up, they're going to see a few things. They can click view instructions to open it up more fully, or they can leave it in that smaller screen. They're going to be able to do a couple things. They can see the rubric that their assignments are graded off of. So it's based off of 4 categories. Please pause to read, or you can go look at my larger paper. There's a copy of the rubric in there as well. And 40 points available. So while 40 does not sound like a lot, it's pretty heavily weighted. So these projects will be project grades, which is 40% of all of my grading policy. They will open up the directions. So this is what all of their direction sheets are going to look like for all of the bootcamp activities. Please pause to read. This one is the introduction activity. So it's just getting them used to using the platform. So open VEX Code VR, they're going to do that by going over to the VEX master link, which I talked about in the tour. And I'm continuing to free. We are using the free version. I do talk about extensively why it is important to use the free version, both even if you have access or the funds to purchase an upgrade, but using this as a free resource is very important. So once they've opened that, they're then going to follow the directions for saving your device, which I talk about in the intro basics. I'm looking for them to select a grid map, code it to do a very, very simple, just a couple squares forward, and then we're going to make a right turn. And then I need them to export. And I know if they're reading the directions because this is when it's going to tell them to watch the export and turn in video. Because exporting is not just sending me the file that has the code written in it, but VEX has the option to, export into PDFs that look like this, so I can see their screen. I don't have to go through the process of downloading their code, uploading their code into it, opening it, saving it to my computer, all that jazz. I can see their code. Right here, it's going to give me everything that was in their workspace, all of the blocks that they had pulled. And this is what I will be doing all of my grading from. I told them very explicitly that they, in the export and turn in video, which again can be found in videos, export and turn in, 2 minutes, that they can watch it if they need. Some of them know how to use Google Classroom productively. They know that I show them this, that they have to open up this panel and they have to add the work. So they would add a file from their computer, and then the turn in button would appear after you link this, and then they would click mark as done, and I would see that. They would then head back over to their checklist, and they're ready to keep going on. Now, I would encourage that if I was myself even teaching this, or someone else, making sure to check in on those intro activities pretty quickly to make sure that they seem to be understanding the basic concepts. If there are any major errors or misunderstandings, that you stop and reteach or reiterate whatever is needed so that they're not continuing to do the rest of the boot camp incorrectly. So to give you a quick preview of the rest of boot camp, they're going to continue on in our classwork stream. Level 1 is entitled Basketball Drills, so they have 10 steps. This one is actually quite hard. They have to use some grid blocks and some operator blocks, some math in there to get done what they need to do. We're using comment blocks, or what's called pseudocode. So they're marking their sections for me so I can see the differentiation. And again, to see if they're paying attention and know how well they're understanding the software, along with naming. And I always tell my students, ask 3 before me. So enhancing that sense of community, ask people around you before you ask me. It's okay if you're not totally sure that answer is right. Like, hey, Mrs. Roeder, I want to know, Johnny told me that in order to export, I have to name my project. Like, is that true? Sure is. I can always reiterate. So things like that, they are going to be, all of these projects are based on the same rubric, so they understand what they are working towards throughout. Those rubrics in Google Classroom are fabulous. They allow me to comment right on them. I can do half points, all of those things like that. Level 2 is called Line Detector. It's really fun. It almost looks like if you are one of my sciencey people, it looks like a gel electrophoresis, I think. This is what the playground for it looks like. So they're learning to use the sensors on their robot, in this case the eye sensor, to detect colors, distance, things like that. So they have now completed level 1, level 2, and level 3 is Castle Crasher, which, let me show you the directions for Castle Crasher first. The directions are super short, but the challenge is pretty large. So they're going to the Castle Crasher playground, and they're going to be here for a while because these videos, or not these videos, these blocks, as you can see, they're going to push these over and they have to drive their blocks right off without driving their robot off the edge. So they have to write a code that stops the robot from driving off the edge of the map, but still manages to push all of the blocks off the edge. This one causes some frustration. I've done this with some high schoolers, and they do not get it. They do not have as easy a time as they would think with this, and I've seen some frustration. So this is one of the parts where the checklist comes in handy. I can tell if you just went right ahead and went to the final test and did not pay attention. Once you've completed level 3, you are asked to return to your Quizlet, and you can either do this by typing Quizlet into Google and logging in, or you can go back to the tab that was linked in Classroom and open it up from there. And you are going to review it in a game mode of your choice. So, here we go. Start a game. It heard me. There are several games in Quizlet that you can play throughout the thing. So Blast, Blocks, Quizlet Live if you have a few kids that want to do it all together. And this will again record into your classroom data so that you can see what they have worked on, what they have used. And then their checklist is telling them, once you have completed this, you're going to go to the VEX Test Out Google form. This is a locked form, so they will not be able to view it while they are taking the quiz. It is locked, which prevents them from, or hopefully deters them from cheating or even looking at the Quizlet to do things. And I'm going to click on it. I don't think it's going to open because I'm currently on a Mac computer, not a Chromebook. So in Chromebooks, it's in lock mode. So it's telling me, hey, you can't take this because you're not on a Chromebook right now, and you need to take this test on lock mode. I'll show you in just a second what the test out looks like. I will switch browsers to the teacher side so you can see, but let me just finish up the couple of things here. So once they've completed and turned that in, I have a note here. It says, once all assignments and the quiz are complete, return to the checklist assignment here and click Turn in Google Classroom so that I know that you're ready to be graded on everything overall, that you're ready to be marked off as passing boot camp. And I asked them to write the day of the week. It is in the box below, so I know you're paying attention. I do change up the question occasionally. Like sometimes it's like, what is the decoration that is a fruit that is on Miss Roeder's door? The answer is lemons. My classroom is decorated with lemons because I believe in when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And that is the basis of my boot camp and everything that I'm using. So I'm utilizing Google Classroom, Google Drive, Google Docs, Quizlet, VEX Code VR, Quizlet, I think I said Quizlet twice. And I feel like I tried to streamline it best I could. I thought about my students while I was making this. Unfortunately, I feel that their skills are slipping a little bit and their patience and their focus. So I was really trying to make this as clear cut and well organized and straightforward as possible. Let me pause and switch browsers so that you can see things. I am now inside of the side of this, so you can see that it looks very, very similar. I have my classwork stream. I don't know why the icons on my side appear blue and gray on the students. That does bother me a little bit with just the material things, but you can see that everything looks the same. If I pop over here, it's telling me the only student I have in the class right now is other me. So it was assigned to one kid and no one's turned it in so far, but eventually those numbers would go up and down as related. You can see, that's not what I wanted. That I am able to, I can go into student work. I can see that it was assigned to myself. I can turn it on and off if I do or do not want to be accepting submissions. I am able to grade on that rubric. It'll literally let me click the boxes. It'll calculate the grade. I can type in some notes and then I can click return up here at the top and it'll return it back to my student so they can see it. There are some learning management systems and gradebook systems that work together and can transfer grades back and forth. Unfortunately, my school does not have one of those. And I was going to show you the test out quiz. So here is my form. If I open it up from my end, if you want to read through the things, you are more than welcome to pause and read. But it tells them when they open it, lock mode is on. You cannot leave this screen during the quiz. There's 14 questions. It comes out to 91 points. It was just the best way I could do to make it closest to 100, but again, it would be 91 out of 91, so they would earn that calculated grade. And it would count as a project because test quizzes and project in my classes are worth 40%. Big chunk of their grade, but they have everything in front of them to do their very best. I did put in quite a few pictures from the coding software, so asking them what part of this block does what. So I need you to tell me what part of the block do you change to change the driving direction. So do you use 1, 2, 3, or 4 to tell the section that's in, to tell the bot that I now want to drive in reverse. I can scroll a little bit slower, so if you are reading my questions, you can slow down. Here's one from Castle Crasher, so they have to read through this whole code and decipher what order is this robot going to take out these buildings in. So this one's going to take them some time, but this is an important part of debugging and problem solving with code, is understanding where everything is, what everything does, how it's going to work out. And this is also why VEX Code VR is super important, because all other physical robots, you would not have this. You can sit here all day long until the cows come home and try and figure out what your code is doing, but you can do it here on this virtual platform and look at it from this bird's eye overview and just run it over and over and over to find those bugs, make those tiny tweaks. You don't have to plug in your robot and download the code and change your controller and, please move out of the way on the floor so I can try my robot so I know that it works, in this spot doing this specific thing. Or like, the lighting is different today than it was yesterday, and that's changing my code, things like that. Changing how my sensors are working with my code, which is some of the really big struggles with physical robots, and why this is such a great place to start and an easy place to start with robotics and coding. I have all of my students who want to do physical robot competitions or classroom programs. They have to do this boot camp, or what I've now developed and they're going to be doing is this boot camp. I have always been doing kind of like a messy version of this, like, we're going to do this activity, and this activity, but I have now been able to create this awesome module that I can kind of like drop and go, because I do have kids join throughout the year at different times. They see what their friends are doing, they decide they want in on it, and now I don't have to worry about going back and making sure that I can start with them. So this does look kind of rough, but it will, for the students, it'll show in their whole screen. And a few more questions in here. I really like the ones with pictures. I think they're interactive and important. It makes them think. It also helps our visual learners, things like that. Again, I'm able to grade right in here. Oh, excuse me. I can see the responses. Don't have any, and I can change the settings, things like that, anytime that I need. So if I take you back home to our Robohawks bootcamp, you can see, again, I tried to organize everything, things they're going to use super often, like the checklist and the Vex link up here at the top. I do encourage them in the starting video to bookmark it in their Chromebook to make it a little bit easier. And making sure that they are following along, taking their time, and becoming the true Robohawks that I know they can be. Thank you so much for taking the time to investigate my STEM environment with me. If you would like to be added to the classroom, I am more than happy to do this. This version is one that is not connected to anything school related, so you're not impinging on my students at all. I plan on making a copy of this classroom and everything in it to use in my actual classroom. So if there's anyone who wants to try this out, or maybe there's some things you want to try and use with your students, I'm happy to share. I would actually be over the moon excited to share. You can either shoot me a message in Brightspace or reach out to me through email or on my Google email as well. Those are both listed in the paper. Or if anyone just wants to try any of the Vex Code VR challenges, that would be super cool. Vex does actually have a pretty cool curriculum that they've written themselves too, but I find it a little bit flawed, so I do make my own versions of things. Like there is a similar one to basketball drills. They're having the students drive back and forth, things like that, using, operator box, variable box, all of that. But the instructions they provide are not what I would argue as post-COVID friendly. They are not meant for students who do not have a huge attention span or a large vocabulary, which is unfortunately what I'm seeing in a lot of my middle school students. They really need the support and simplicity of the kind of environment that I have created in order to be successful. And I think catering to that, not even catering, adjusting to that is what's really important for me as a teacher. And I am also teaching this to students as young as 4th grade, so I needed something that 9-year-olds could use and that 18-year-olds could use. So I wanted to create this to make it a more seamless transition and just feel a little less chaotic. Thank you again for taking the time to do this, and I cannot wait to see everyone else's projects.